Hi everyone, this is Mohan Raghavan. Today we are going to see closures inside the Go language, and after that we are going to see the anonymous function as well. It's more or related same thing. So let's see how it works. So I will just remove all the things. So before starting anything else, we will understand what is anonymous function. In case if you want to create the function inside the Go language, you will be using the keyword called func. Then after you will be mentioning the function name with the arguments or without arguments and with the return type, right? So in generally, you will create the function with function name always, and you will be using that function by using the function name. But let's say some scenario you want to create some function without having any value, and you need to use that function just for one time or for multiple times. So for that reason, you will be creating the function without function name, simply following by the keyword func, then directly the definition for that. For example, I have only one argument, and after that the type is integer and it is returning the int. Then I am having the function body. Let's say since I had told the return type is integer, so I will return something, return the value a into 3 times. So try to save this and run. You will be getting the error like function literal evaluated but not used. In general Go language, if you define something, you should be using that, otherwise it will not allow to compile the code. Since we have created anonymous function, but we never call that function anywhere else. So that's the reason we are getting the error like function literal evaluated but not used. So now since it's anonymous function, I will be just assigning to one variable called any. Let's run this and see. Now again undefined. So that means that it is not existing. So we need to use the shorthand notation. Let's run it again. Now again, any declared but not used. In previous case, you have defined the function, but you don't have any reference for that. Still, you have not called for that. And next time you have assigned to some variable. So now this variable will be acting like a function, but you have not called that function by using that variable. So that's the reason still you have defined a function, you have not called that function. So let's say in the same main function, I just want to call the main function, sorry, any function, fmt, println, then after the function name is any. Since the any function having the input as let's say the parameter as a integer, so I will be just passing some value called 7. Then try to execute this code. You will be getting output as 21. So that means that here the any is just like a placeholder for that function, anonymous function. In some places you are going to use that function. So this is the functionality of the anonymous function. But however, you might wonder, rather than creating one variable and again using that function by calling that function, we can use directly, right? So that's the trick actually. In case in Go language, you can use the function not only for calling, but you can send the function as the input argument, or you can just return the function also. So that's what the specialty about the Go function. So in such cases, you will be using this function reference as a input argument, or it can be a return value. In simple words, a function can be a input argument or it can be a return value as well. So that's the reason we can use the function for anonymous reasons. But you might wonder, you have the word called closure. Here we are not seeing anything related to the closure, because let's say you have created an anonymous function and you are calling that anonymous function, because rather than writing outside another function called any, you are writing inside the main language. I mean, the main method itself, you are writing one anonymous function and you are calling, that's all. There is no meaning for the closure, right? So that's where the another scenario comes into picture. So just consider this code snippet. So I will be taking this code snippet just for our understanding. And let's go to the playground again. And before the main function, I will be just having this function. Now, if you closely look into this function, it is the function because it has the keyword function. Then the function name is generate function. Okay, fine. And it does not have any input parameters, and it has the return type. Here it is the function. So that means that it will return the function, and that function returns the value of int. It may be a little complicated, but in simple words, you know till this point. So function and the function name. When you call this function, it will return value which is nothing but not an integer, not a string, it is a function. Okay, fine. But the function, whatever the function being written from this function has to return some value, right? So in our case, It can return or it cannot be returning also. But in our case, we are returning the integer value. Okay, fine. And I have the variable here, which is inside your function, generate function. Then id is equal to 0 and returning that particular function. So I know that I'm going to return the function by seeing the declaration here, right? So the first line. So I'm going to return the function and I know that the function also returns the integer value. So that's the reason you are just creating one anonymous function here rather than creating one function and returning, because this function entirely returns one function. So rather than creating one specific function and after that you are going to return that function, directly you are writing the code to return that particular function which matches this syntax, function and integer. So it matches the same thing. Now you have the implementation. Here you are just adding the id value and returning the id value. So this id value will be taken from the outer function, which is nothing but your id. Now it will increment and it will return the id. Okay, let's execute and see this code. First you will get error because you are not calling this function anywhere else, right? So just I will call this function. Now you know that if you call this function, obviously it will generate one function which is nothing but our this function, and this function is being returned to this caller, right? So that's the reason I'm calling here generate function. Then I'm just mentioning f1. So now f1 is the function. The function implementation is nothing but this one, right? Again, let's say I am just calling fmt println. Now you know that f1 is the function, so I can call the f1 as a function here, and this one does not have anything, so just I am mentioning simple parenthesis, and let's run this code. So here you can see f1 undefined. Why? Because we have not written inside the main, so that's the reason. No problem. Now let's just remove this anonymous functions. Now we are inside the main function. Just I will do the same thing. Format. Now let's clear. So this is the function. So this is the print statements, hello playground, okay fine, and the generate function returns the another function and it is being stored inside the f1. Now I am calling f1 as the function. Here it is the reference to the function, here it is the function call actually. Let's execute. Now again f1 define, okay sorry, I need to use the shortened notation. If you use the equal to symbol, that means that it is already defined and you are assigning or reassigning the values again. Okay fine, now let's execute again and see your output is 1. What if I call the same function again and again? Let's execute. So here you can see the output as 1, 2, 3. So that means that this entire function is wrapped or closed inside this, right? So that's the reason whenever you call this function, id also attached to that function. So that means that whenever you have some, let's say f1 variable, that f1 variable actually pointed to the function and that function is wrapped or closed with the id value. The id value of each function is 0. So that means that this f1 variable is binded to one id value, that is 0. Now let's generate the other function. For simple instance, I will just mention like a f2. Now what happens is now it will generate another function with the from the starting. So that means that again it will generate with id and everything. It will be specific to the f2 reference. It's not like f1. So how can you confirm that one? So let's see here. So here I will just remove. So this f2 has the clear id, or let's say very initial value of id 0, then it will return only the 1 in case if we have or if we have closed that id with the particular wrapped function. If we execute this one, first I will format and let's execute again. Here you can see the f1 is generated function. So the generated function having the copy of this one. So the entire thing is different area. Another time if you generate the function, it again generates one more function, it returns that function. So that's the reason this id value is entirely new when compared to the f2. So that's the reason at last you are getting the output as 1. So in this way you will be knowing that anonymous function is nothing but without the name, and here you don't need to create function with the name because you are simply going to return one function with some implementation. So that's where you will be using the anonymous function. And another reason why it is called as closure, because any variable you mention inside the function which returns another function, that will be closing with that particular return function. So that means that every time you return the function, it will be closed with one variable ID 0. If you generate one more time, it will be again having another ID. It is not the same. That's the reason you are seeing first time when you call the F1, the attached ID will be incremented 1 and it will be executing or it will be displaying 1. And second time you are calling the same function and it is attached to ID, but now this time ID is 1. Now it will increment by 2 and it is displaying 2 and so on. But as soon as you create the new variable, then it generates the entire new set of the function and the ID starts from the 0. Again it increments and that's why you are seeing the 1 value. So this is the understanding about the closure and anonymous function. So thanks all, thanks for watching and have a great day.